go to the motion box, see where it says the M? Just click that. Now, where it says adopt down there, just drop that down
Just right
and see
here.
if this is fixed. Okay, so this was not holding. So go ahead and that. Just hit pause.
Order.
Go ahead and start your, we're gonna go
Okay,
ahead and
we
put
can
it in
do
there.
it. We
Yeah.
can.
So go ahead and
Start,
start your meeting.
and then you said double click,
Double
roll
click.
call.
Wait.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead, that's fine, you're fine.
Alrighty.
And then
hit.
hit that. So now, what we're gonna do is we are going to take out the people that are not going to be. So uncheck Roy.
Oh,
Excused.
maybe.
Now go up and hit pause. My name is Tammy Sadler Jones. I'm the city administrator, and I would like to call to order the License and Variance Board meeting at 10 o'clock a.m. on Wednesday, July the 10th, 2019. Board members present. To my left is Kevin Moore, the city engineer, and to his left is Mary Moore, no relation, our library director. And Mary Arvin is our administrative services coordinator. She will be taking the official meeting minutes. First item is a public hearing, privilege license request, LIC 2019-17, beer and wine pouring, 1529 Spring Road Southeast, Suite E, the original hot dog factory, with Richard Leon George as the agent. Is Mr. George here? Can you step to the podium, please? Good morning.
Good morning.
And for the record, can you state your name?
Richard Leon George.
Okay. And Mr. George, have you received a city of the...
Yes, ma'am.
And have you read it, and do you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you agree to abide by the regulations set forth in that ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you've completed the responsible alcohol sales class?
I have.
All right. And what steps do you have in place to make sure that your restaurant does not sell alcohol to underage persons?
We ID each person, no matter age, how they look. We actually had a secret shopper in at the end of May when you guys were doing the sting operations, and we passed. We got a letter saying that we passed.
Okay, good. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. All right, and as you just alluded to, from time to time, the Smyrna Police Department does undercover sting operations, and if anyone does sell alcohol, any of your employees, you understand that they will be taken to jail immediately.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. The Smyrna Police Department did do a background investigation, and there was no information revealed that would preclude issuance of this particular license. So with that said, this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, please step to the podium at this time. All right, seeing no one, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve LIC 2019-17 privilege license request, beer and wine pouring, 1529 Spring Road Southeast, STE East, the original hot dog factory, with Richard Leon George as agent.
A second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve privilege license request -17. All in favor, please vote. All right. And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item, 19025, allow 6-foot wooden corner lot, land lot 330, 0.41 acres, 591 Summer Tree Court, Zach Wood and Lisa Sism. Is the applicant present? Okay, can you step to the podium, please? State your name.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Zachary Lee Wood.
Okay, all right. And Mr. Wood, can you tell us about your variance request, please?
Yes, ma'am. We built a fence on the corner of Nickajack and Summerwood. Basically, we're right there by the road. We have a puppy and a daughter, and we wanted the fence for some privacy and safety. The road is dangerous, and there's a park across the street where some things happen at night. Sometimes that's a little, a little concerning. So wanted to make sure that we were protected from the backyard.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant at this time? All right. Well, Mr. Wood, can you just have a seat on the front row, please, and we'll have comments from Joey Stobbs with Community Development.
Good morning, Joey Stobbs, Planner 2, Community Development. This is variance request V19-025, 591 Summer Tree Court to allow a 6-foot wooden privacy fence in a front yard on a corner lot. This lot has road frontage on 3 sides. The access is from Summer Tree Court, and then the side of the property is on Summerwood Drive, and the back of the property is on Nickajack Road. They are asking to have a 6-foot wooden privacy fence to fence in the rear of their property, essentially the backyard. There's already a existing subdivision sign that's either between 6 to 8 feet on the corner of Nickajack and Summerwood. They have already installed the fence to connect with that existing sign. So Community Development has reviewed the request and recommended approval based on the safety and privacy concerns stated by the applicant and based on precedent set by the board approving many variances of the similar nature of this fence.
Any questions for the staff?
Joey, if this particular property did not have 3 sides meeting a road, what would be the height limitations for the fence normally?
If it was an interior lot, not a corner lot, they could have a 8 feet tall fence from the back of the house along the sides and the back of the property.
So the entire backyard, if it were an interior lot, the entire backyard could be 8 feet?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any site distance issues as proposed?
Community Development and the city engineer have both reviewed the fence for site visibility concerns, and we found there to be none that are.
Okay. No other questions for the staff at this time? This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, please step to the podium at this time. And I would like to make each person aware that you have a limit of 5 minutes. And for the record, can you state your name?
Yes, my name is Richard Poland.
Okay.
I live at 4730 Summerwood Drive in Summer Place subdivision. And if I could, before I give my opinion, I'd like to present a letter. The letter is in opposition to the variance, and it's signed by 15 homeowners in the neighborhood. That's 50% roughly of our 32 home neighborhood, and even higher when you take into account some of the owner occupied properties. 50% of the homeowners in the neighborhood have signed this letter agreeing that the fence is a safety issue and an overall detriment to the neighborhood. That is a significant statistic that would be difficult to reproduce in most situations. I'm confident that there aren't nearly as many, if any, signatures in support of this fence. There are still others who couldn't sign the letter due to conflicts of interest or personal relationships, etc. However, every homeowner I talked to disliked the fence for various reasons. The concerns included craftsmanship, which includes the uneven flow, the unfinished look, and the post sticking out above the top. The height, the fact that the property is tied to the entrance sign, but above all, it's the safety of the 10 or 11 with one on the way, kids under the age of 7 that walk to the park across the street every day. And that's the primary concerns listed in my discussions. And I'll have a copy of the letter. I won't read it unless you want me to, but I have a copy of the letter that I would be happy to present to you. Now, for me, my wife and I are Smyrna people. We do everything in Smyrna. We eat at Wade's. We come in here to see the light show. I get the pork chop at Porchlight Grill, and I eat every bit of it. We do that every birthday. We're Smyrna people. We support our town, and we're proud of it. We're just as proud of our neighborhood. We bought the worst house in the neighborhood 11 years ago and fixed it up. It was out of foreclosure, and we spent a lot of time fixing it up. Our subdivision has never had an HOA and has never needed one. We work as a community to keep the neighborhood beautiful. Our entrance cleanup crew pulls weeds, refreshes the pine straw, plants flowers, mows, trims, sprays for weeds. The neighborhood takes up a collection for the cost, and about half of the homes send a representative to help with the work. We take great pride in our entrance because it's the first thing someone sees when driving into the neighborhood. It adds to the curb appeal of the entire subdivision. My opinion is that a variance should only be granted when there is good reason that benefits the community. But there were no good reasons to allow the variance to pass. The homeowner made a mistake and didn't do their due diligence and built an illegal fence. He could have built a fence that conforms to other neighborhood entrances and with the same functionality for lower cost. I've personally offered to help with the financing and the work, and every single person who signed my letter has offered to pitch in as well. The homeowner scoffed at this and said that he would rather try his luck with a variance. The homeowner argues that the park presents a danger. I've never seen anything that gives me any concern in Thompson Park, and my neighbors that I've been talking with all morning feel the same way. Some of them live there for 30 plus years, 29, I think. There are always children playing in the park and the playgrounds. They're standing on the fence looking at the trains as they go by. And the park has only been a positive thing for our neighborhood. It poses absolutely no concerns for anybody. No one who's ever lived there has had any problems from that park. Additionally, the monument sign at its lowest point, contrary to what you just heard, is less than 4 feet tall. It's 3 feet 9 inches. I've measured it myself. If someone wanted to get in the backyard, even now, even with an 8-foot fence, they still would not have to climb the fence. They could just go over the monument sign, which is attached to the fence. He mentioned his dog. His dog is not a puppy. It's a fully grown dog. It could also get out. If it could get out of a 4-foot fence, which is what we're proposing and what the zoning codes call for, it could also get out right now over the 3'9" wall that's existing, so that it doesn't help him to have the variance in any way. As I mentioned, he can have a fence and should be allowed to have one if he wants it. However, his unique position in the neighborhood limits his options. I'm sorry for that, and I will do all I can to mitigate his costs and time to modify the fence. There are many reasons to deny the variance. Contrary to the city planner's opinion, this home is in a unique position. It is located at the entrance to the subdivision. In fact, the entrance sign is wholly contained within his parcel. The maintenance of the existing sign and all improvements made to the yard will directly affect the entire neighborhood. If you allow for this variance to pass, you will allow Summer Place to be the first subdivision that I know of in the entire city to have a 6-foot-tall privacy fence attached to its monument sign, and you will have effectively wasted all of the work, the time, and money that the neighborhood has put into this sign and this entrance over the years. The visibility issue. The fence is taller than a monument sign, which is not only aesthetically displeasing, but because it sits higher than the monument sign, it blocks visibility to Nickajack as you are driving down Summerwood Drive to exit the subdivision. More importantly, it limits visibility from drivers driving east on Nickajack as they approach the neighborhood. It's easy to see how a small child could get ahead of their parents and a driver not see them until it's too late because they pop out from behind this fence. I realize that the city planner and all the other people who have said to the contrary, they don't think there's a safety issue with the fence, but these people have not been driving in and out of that subdivision for the past 11 or 29 years like our neighbors have, and I assure you the visibility is an issue, and it is limited by the fence. Welfare is another issue. Not only do I have a subjective opinion because I live there, I also have a professional opinion. I hold a bachelor's degree in real estate. I'm a licensed real estate appraiser. I'm a licensed real estate agent. I have 18 years professional experience, including time as a residential mortgage loan officer and appraiser. My opinion is that home values in the neighborhood will suffer due to a lower demand that will be directly caused by the fence. Not all, but some prospective buyers will see the entrance and the eyesore attached to it and will not continue into the neighborhood to look at their prospective new homes. I have real estate data, current FMLS data to back up that if you want to talk about that on the side. I also want to quickly mention before I get to my conclusion, the city planner for this case is Joey Stobbs. Joey made false and misleading statements in his presentation to the board. Additionally, the photos presented to the board are not at all representative of the nature of this fence and how it relates to the existing monument sign. I have updated pictures for your reference that I hope you will take a look at and see just how egregious this is. The fence sits a couple feet above the sign. His opinion also was not publicly posted at all. It was given to us yesterday afternoon with less than 24 hours to prepare, including time to sleep, for the presentation either in support of his opinion or an argument against it. For these reasons, I think that his opinion should carry no weight in your decision. My conclusion is, why do we have zoning ordinances in any way? The reason we have zoning ordinances is to keep the community safe and uniform and aesthetically pleasing, to keep Smyrna beautiful. When constituents comply with zoning, it limits the need for these subjective political unfair hearings. You should only grant a variance from our well-established, easy-to-find zoning ordinances if it benefits the people affected by the change. This variance will only have a negative effect on our neighborhood. The fence will make the neighborhood less safe, cause a reduction in home values, and generally lower the appeal of the entire neighborhood. If you grant this variance, you will be doing a disservice to all of the neighbors in Summer Place. So before you place your vote, I will ask you a question. Would you want this in your neighborhood? And I will kind of pass the pictures along in the letter.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
My name is Kristen Poland. You just heard from my husband. I too live at 4730 Summerwood Drive. I hope that my being here today will sway your opinion, because I was supposed to be on my way to a work conference, but I postponed that so that I could be here and talk to you all today about this variance request. I want to reiterate everything my husband said about the visibility, about the detriment based on the craftsmanship of the fence and what I think it does to the property values. I think that we have to look at, if 50% of the neighborhood thinks property values will be hurt, that's proof that property values will be hurt. Property values are based on perception, and if half of the population thinks that the fence hurts property values, it hurts property values. I also want to just point out a couple of things from the memorandum that was presented from Rusty Martin and Joey Stobbs. First of all, I think that there's just a factually untrue statement regarding the brick subdivision side. As my husband said, at the lowest point, it's 3 feet 9 inches. It is not 6 to 8 feet. At most, it's 6 feet, because unless the fence is also 8 feet, it's even with the fence in certain sections, but it's not an even. It flows with the land, so it's 3 feet 9 inches at one side, where the 6-foot fence ties into it. So I think that's just a misleading statement. Also, I disagree that there are no visibility concerns, because I think that the fence having been put in place prior to anyone looking at it, there is no point of reference for what the visibility was prior to the fence being installed. And I think that that's an important point to make. I think that the analysis is that at times a 4-foot fence may not provide adequate privacy. That is so vague as to be completely nonsensical. It may be a problem, but maybe not. I don't know. So with that in mind, the 4 factors that the board is supposed to be considering are whether there are any unique and special circumstances attached to the property. As mentioned, this is the property that is at the front of the neighborhood. The monument sign is in the property. Everything that happens with that property impacts the perception and colors the view of the entire neighborhood. So the fence just disproportionately impacts everyone else in the neighborhood, as opposed to perhaps some other properties that might exist. Whether the hardship was self-created. I mean, in this case, the fence was built without any zoning variance or without really looking into it, so any hardship from disallowing the variance is entirely self-created by the homeowners. Whether the strict application of the zoning ordinance deprives the homeowners of the reasonable use of the property. As we've said, a 4-foot fence would be within the zoning rules. There's no deprivation of the use of the property by not granting the variance. A 4-foot fence would still allow them reasonable use of the backyard. Like I said, the 3'9" section of the wall means that the 4-foot fence would keep the dog in just as well as anything else. So, and then lastly, whether the variance requested is the minimum variance needed. As I've said, there is no variance needed, so there cannot be a minimum variance needed. There's none necessarily needed at all. So in summation, I want to just say that I think that the safety of the neighborhood properties are adversely affected if this zoning variance is granted. Based on the visibility concerns as outlined. I also think that the welfare in that the property values is going to be adversely affected if you grant the variance as requested. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning. My name
Good
is
morning.
Chinita Johnson. I live directly next door to 591 Summer Tree Court. We have lived in that neighborhood. And
What's your address?
581 Summer Tree Court, I'm sorry. We have lived at 581 Summer Tree Court for 29 years. We have other owners who have lived there. No one has decided to put a privacy fence up. To me, it's not needed for the neighborhood. I don't have all of the legal information or ramification that needs to be told, but I am in disapproval of this particular fence. And like the other owner said, this is not a puppy. This is a real big-sized dog that they have there. And it's no safety issues. We have lived there for 29 years. We have not had any drug problems or any kind of illegal activity going over in the park that directly affects us. And I just think it's just overall, this variance should not be allowed because this is not good for the neighborhood. And we live right next door to them. And every time I come in and go out, I see this fence. And it's not a very pleasing sight to see. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alice Hearn. I live at 4790 Summerwood Drive. This photo says it all to me. This wooden fence against our beautiful brick entry just detracts. I don't think time will help the wood, and we have codes in Cobb County and Smyrna. We need to stay with them for property values because I think property values would be affected. Thank you.
I'm Larry Johnson. I live at 581 Summer Tree Court. I live next door to where the variance fence, applicant for the variance fence applied, and I don't see any safety issues. This been open down there at the entrance for 29 years. Well, you never had a safety issue over there. Nobody never came over from the park into our lot, and I stay real close to the park. I think in the next maybe 3 years, this fence is going to be an eyesore. And in the backyard, we have a lot of trees that fall, and I don't see how this fence is going to ever hold up with these trees that's falling. They fall a couple of times a year. I have no access whatsoever to my properties if any emergency happen back there. I have a 10-foot, 12-foot embankment back there that I cannot get to my property. And usually with that open down to the entrance, you can come on to either their property or my property. Now it's gotten so, it's just everything is, to me, it is a safety issue. And hopefully we can get the 96-foot fence and maybe do something a little bit different. I mean, because I just really feel that should be open down there for safety reasons. And a couple other things that to me is not so private. When I go up in my bedroom, I can see a lot of stuff that goes on within the yard that shouldn't even be there. It's an eyesore to me, and it's embarrassing. And hopefully we can get this problem straightened out, because this is the first time I ever thought about selling my property. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Or questions? Yes. For the staff or the applicant? Okay. Which, it doesn't matter.
I have some questions for Joey Stobbs first. Some of the attendees had questions about applying the ordinances. The ordinance does not speak to the aesthetics, construction quality, or property value impacts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It only addresses the height
Correct.
and location and setback of the fence.
That's correct.
Okay. Also, when you observed the properties, were there any sidewalks on either side?
I don't recall.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions for now for Joey. I have a question for the applicant. Are there sidewalks on your property?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Is the fence complete at this time?
So they made a statement about the post. Yeah, I intentionally left that for now, waiting for the variance, because if we're cutting it down to 4 feet, then obviously I didn't want to go out and cut posts and then cut it again. So that's the reason why. As far as the craftsmanship goes, we actually had my brother, who's a landscape architect in Alabama, come in and help us build that. So I would debate that strongly in regards to the craftsmanship. Joey and others have also validated that. I mean, opinions are opinions, but from a legal perspective, and you know, it's a well-built 6-foot privacy fence.
What do you intend still to do to complete the fence?
Well, you know, obviously, I'm going to cut the post down to, you know, below the top of the boards. You know, my wife and I have talked, and you know, we're willing to, you know, to compromise somewhat if you know, even if staining the fence or something to that effect would sort of ease the tension with the neighborhood. We're willing to take a look at that. But our stance is that we have every much a right to privacy and safety, regardless of which lot we're on. You know, everybody else in the neighborhood has that right, and we shouldn't have that taken away from us just because where our lot sits. But I mean, you know, we're not trying to be difficult, and we're not trying to make people angry. You know, again, we can debate all day about safety and whatnot. My personal opinion is that we do have a safety issue in being on that road and by the train tracks, and that's how we feel, and we have a right to feel that way, and we have a right to protect ourselves that way.
Seeing as how the monument sign, it's completely on your property, it's not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So is that a main entrance to the neighborhood?
Yes.
Is it the main entrance or just one of them?
It's the main entrance, yes.
The main entrance. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wood, my question was, I mean, before today, were you aware of the concerns from your neighbors? Have you all had a chance to talk? And it's one of your neighbors said they've offered financially to assist you. I just want to confirm whether or not that's true.
We have
Okay.
spoken. Joey and I have spoken, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I mean,
Your neighbors.
Richie and I have spoken.
Okay, all right.
As a driver, if you're exiting your neighborhood and you come to a complete stop at the intersection at Nickajack, does your fence inhibit a driver being able to see to the right any more than the monument sign already did?
Right, exactly. That was my point. The brick wall, the fence goes right alongside the brick wall. So if there was a sight line issue, it would have been with the brick wall before we even built the fence. And you know, there's 20, 25 feet from Nickajack to the brick wall. Honestly, there's shrubbery, bushes, normal stuff that's on the side of the road that's more of a hazard than that fence is.
Did you consider a 4-foot?
No, ma'am. That's a standard privacy fence. I honestly did not even, it didn't cross my mind that would be considered a front yard. I didn't even think about it. Like I said, my brother is a landscape architect. It didn't cross his mind that there would be an ordinance that would consider, everything is from the back of the house back. So we never thought that would be considered a front yard. Like I said, we wanted the 6 foot to maintain some privacy on our lot, and also for the safety of our dog and our daughter, and like I said, it was just it's a standard fence. We weren't we didn't put a whole lot of thought into it as far as 4 foot versus 6 foot. That's we built them before, and you see them all over the place. So.
Okay. Pardon me.
I had a question for Mr. Poland. I'm trying to understand the safety concern that you had. You said about children potentially getting hit by a car at this location, and since there are no sidewalks, I'm confused as to why there would be someone walking right there.
Well, there's a park directly across the street that
Okay.
We have, like I mentioned, 10 young children under the age of 7, and another one, there might be 11 now. There was 10, and then one woman was pregnant. But those kids walk with their families, and there's a couple older kids that walk by themselves to the park, and they cross the street. Now, Nickajack isn't just, people don't go 20 miles an hour on
Right.
Nickajack. They come down the hill sometimes going really quickly, coming across the tracks. I've seen them, I don't have a radar gun, but I've seen them go at least 40. And when you're coming down Summerwood going towards Nickajack, you used to be able to see through behind the fence or behind the sign where the fence currently is, and you could see through to the road, and it gave you an extra 45-degree angle of visibility. Now that fence sits up high enough that you can't see that as you drive through. It's whether it would directly cause an accident immediately right now because of the way it sits, maybe not, but I can see it is definitely worse than it was before. The visibility is worse than it was before due to the fence. And I had another thought that's escaped me, but
Is there a crosswalk at that location or a light of any kind?
No.
No.
There's no other way to get to the park, though, if you're walking. You're not going to walk down, go across the street, wait till the next go, that's the direct path to the park. That's where all the kids will go across.
Okay.
I'll ask you kind of the similar question that I asked the applicant. If you're exiting your neighborhood as a driver and you've come to a complete stop at the intersection at Nickajack, the fence doesn't impact your visibility at that situation.
Not if you're stopped.
Is that an accurate statement?
That's accurate. If you're stopped at the intersection and looking both ways, no.
Okay.
My primary concern, what I mentioned in my statement, was that people driving east on Nickajack, if people come down west, traveling west on Nickajack, it's down a hill, and they're picking it up. They're going 45, 50, sometimes 60 miles an hour coming in that direction. And I can see a scenario where somebody is getting ready to turn in and not realizing that there's somebody, not realizing how fast they're coming, and try to cut that corner quickly to get across, and there'll be kids walking out from behind the fence. I can see that happening, and I've got a letter signed by half of my neighborhood that agree that is a problem. And it's 50% of the neighborhood. That's 15 homes are represented in that letter versus one person's statement who has a vested interest in keeping his fence. So.
You mentioned that your neighborhood does not have an HOA. Has there been one historically in the past?
I don't believe ever. The people, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
okay.
But from what I understand, I've lived there 11 years. There's never been one since I've been there. I know people who've been there 29 years, and I think that was the beginning of the subdivision. My house was built in 91. I don't think there's ever been an HOA. There's never needed to be one. Every time somebody has a project like a fence, I laid 20 pallets of sod in my front yard several years ago. The neighborhood helped me do that. We had 10 people from the neighborhood help me do that. That's what we do. And in our neighborhood, we come together and we do work for each other. We mow each other's yards all the time. I just helped a neighbor next door build a deck. That's what we do, and we're happy to continue that. And if we can find a compromise or find something that works for everybody that mitigates the safety concerns and also mitigates that it's a very unsightly view when you pull into our neighborhood now. We've worked, those same people that work for each other, mow each other's yards, we've worked tirelessly for 20 years to keep that entrance looking great, and now it looks like it belongs in Mableton, not Smyrna.
I have one more question for Joey. Since the monument sign is completely in the applicant's yard, does he have control over that monument? I mean, technically, since the neighborhood has no HOA, he could do whatever he wanted to that brick sign?
There's no easement that I'm aware of, and there's no HOA that I'm aware of, so.
So the
Well, the neighbors have said there's no HOA. There's no easement on the survey.
okay, and so so there's nothing that says he has to attach his fence to the monument sign in any way. There's nothing controlling that process.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? You can.
I would just like to say, and again, I'm not trying to cause problems with my neighbors, but I feel like this is a matter of opinion versus legality, and I don't think it's right or fair to make judgments or decisions based on what 1, 4, 15, or however many people feel about something, versus is it legal or is it not legal? And I think that's kind of where I'm coming from here. Like I said, we all have a different opinion as to how it looks and what it makes the neighborhood look like. But there's precedent. There's significant precedent for this kind of a variance, and I hope that's considered. Thank you.
Yes.
Has control of the entrance sign. Podium, please. You ask if the homeowner has control of the entrance sign, and he does, but he has never once worked on it with the neighborhood. He mowed the front yard on Friday. But this home, what I'm saying is that the neighborhood has maintained this sign for 29 years without any of his assistance. He's mowed it once now, he says. This is not his sign. This is the neighborhood sign. It may be located on his parcel, but everyone else has been the ones has been the people to take care of that sign and take care of that entrance. It's the only entrance to our neighborhood. And the entrance on the other side, there's 2 signs one on each side of the road. Someone else is always taking care of that entrance other than the people that live in that home. And when I asked him during our discussions if he would like to continue that process, he said yes, and he would like to be a part of it, but he didn't ask for us to stop. He still wants to help maintaining that entrance, and we're more than willing to do it. We want to do it. In fact, we just had another meeting, another group work on it on Saturday. But it's not just his entrance that belongs to the whole neighborhood. It always has.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mary, did you want to? Okay, that's fine.
I would like to make a motion to table item V19-025, variance request, allow 6-foot wooden privacy fence in front yard on corner lot, land lot 330.41 acres, 591 Summer Tree Court. Zach Wood and Lisa Sissom applicants. I'd like to table this issue until community development can re-examine some of the safety concerns brought up by the residents.
When would you like to table it until?
What's the next?
The next meeting is June 24th.
Tabled until June 24.
Mr. Wood, are you available on June 24th?
Oh,
July 24th.
July 24th.
Pardon us.
Thank you.
July. Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
It's been motioned and properly second that we table variance request V19025, table until July 24th. All in favor, please vote. Sorry, Mary is still learning our system here, so. Okay, motion passes unanimous. If possible, the neighbors for you all to talk to Mr. Wood, and Mr. Wood for you to talk to your neighbors, and hopefully if you can come back with some type of compromise, if possible. Thank you. Next item is a public hearing, variance request V19026, Clintic distance from 200 feet to 25 feet from residential property, land lot 528, 0.86 acres, 3875 South Cobb Drive, Blue Frog LLC. Sean Rainey is the applicant. Can you step to the podium, please, Mr. Rainey? And for the record, can you state your name?
My name is Sean Rainey with Blue Frog, and our address is 3011 Sutton Gate Drive.
Tell us about your variance request, please.
So Dr. Carey and her husband are looking to purchase this property that used to be a QT building. It's boarded up, hasn't been used in a long time. And they have a vet clinic now on the east-west connector next to the Starbucks. They've been established. We designed and built their current clinic back a few years ago. They're looking to expand, and things are busy, things are good in Smyrna, so they're looking to purchase the QT property and make it a vet clinic for themselves. They don't do any boarding at all. They only have hospitalized wards and a couple runs in the building. No outside runs, no outside areas for dogs to just run around. It's not a daycare or anything for animals. So they're looking to renovate the building, do a very small expansion on the front of the building just to get a little bit more reception area, and enclose. There's a existing dumpster area behind the building that's attached to the building. We're going to enclose that and do what they did in their other clinic that they're in now, and have an area where they can, put a dog on a leash and walk them outside and bring them back inside. Basically, give one animal at a time a little bit of sunshine, during the day while they're at their clinic. But that's it.
Any questions for the applicant at this time? All right. If you can have a seat on the front row, we'll have Joey Stobbs from Community Development make comments.
This variance request V19-026 for 3875 South Cobb Drive. This is an existing Quick Trip that's vacant. I believe it's been vacant for several years. Pretty sure Quick Trip still owns it and has a lot of restrictions on who can use that property because they don't want competition for other convenience stores going in there. So this applicant has proposed to use it as a veterinary clinic. They want to keep the building where it is, which is about 25 feet from the residential property line, approximately 70 feet from any residential structure. If they were to try to comply with the 200-foot distance requirement, they would essentially need setback variances because the lot is so small. So rather than demolishing a building or requesting setback reductions, we are recommending approval of this variance to reduce it. I can't find my notes. With the two conditions that, where my memo is, that they don't have any outdoor runs, and that the animals are occupied by a veterinary specialist from the clinic to supervise all animals outdoors. So we recommend approval.
Any questions for the staff?
Have the neighbors, I know that there's residents right there, have all the neighbors been notified, and in what way?
They've been notified through certified mail, and I have not heard any opposition that I'm aware of.
Okay. Is the, this used to be a gas station?
Correct.
Are the tanks already gone? They will be dug up, okay.
Everything was dug up back years ago. We have a report that was given to the state.
Any other questions for the staff? This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, please step to the podium at this time. Good morning.
Good morning, Board. My name is Rashid Cotman. I'm a resident of the Gates at King Springs community, directly behind the property in question. My address is 1216 Stone Castle Circle. Here I have a receipt of a certified letter sent to the Variance Board, as well as a petition of all existing homeowners in the community that are actively against the approval of this variance. We're writing this variance under the following grounds. Code of ordinance for the city of Smyrna. The noise from this facility will cause a serious annoyance to the neighbors, residents, and will interfere with the reasonable use and enjoyment of the residential property. The housed domestic animals, whether inside or out, will lead to a disturbance by barking, howling, or other noise making for more than a period of 15 minutes. Also, under the grounds of the Cobb County ordinance that states exactly the same. And also from a position of being misinformed. The applicant sent a certified package out that I have in hand listing two variances. Only see one that's up against today. And also stating within this packet that an outdoor kennel would not, be in use. The sign that's outside that listed the day of this particular meeting says to allow an outdoor kennel. So we don't have confidence in the applicant from just being truthful. Who would actually be in a position to, regulate if it's one person outside walking a dog or whatnot? And more importantly, we believe as a community, pushing that particular variance back from 200 to 25 feet is pretty egregious. We've made significant investments in that community. My neighbors out here, we've moved from New York, Midtown Atlanta, and these are approaching $450,000 homes, townhomes that you have behind there. So we're in full support of growing out this community, and no one wants to move in a community with barking dogs, calling the police for that particular annoyance over and over and over again. The applicant made suggestion, or the engineer commissioner made suggestion that the homeowners were notified. Not all of them. Again, this is a growing community. People are making decisions for this investment, and they are unaware that so close to their property will be an animal hospital that, any business is looking to grow. I have my MBA from Georgia Tech. Boarding and daycare are the two next things to come with any type of animal hospital. We also have news articles from around the country that state even the veterinary hospitals before boarding are subject to noise ordinance. And those particular residents have made them over and over again to the community. and then have subjected it to City Hall board meetings. We're trying to get ahead of this. We're in full support of growing out this area, but we feel like a veterinary hospital that close to property lines just doesn't do us justice as homeowners. The notion in the letter says they won't remove the awning from the gas station. I consider that to be an eyesore. It's stated to be kept there from a purpose to support covered parking. Why would you have covered parking more than 40 feet away from the front door? So if it's raining, I got to go from covered parking to in the rain to go inside. I believe that's a cost play, that they are not willing to make the same type of investment to dig up the gas cans, tear down the awning, make the appropriate investment on the corner of King Springs and South Cobb, right? That this community really needs to thrive. Again, we have a full signed petition of all of the residents in that community. The builders are in support of this. Obviously, they can't sign a petition on things they don't own, but they're in support of it. And we're motioning the board to be against this particular variance request and the additional variance request that was listed in his applicant but not listed on the form today. Do you need this?
You can give it to our city clerk, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll clarify about the application. We met with the applicant prior to them submitting the application. There was some misunderstanding about what they needed a variance for. They requested a second variance to keep the smaller dumpster enclosure because it would be a second accessory structure. It's not a second accessory structure, so they don't need a variance for that. So they only need that one variance that we've discussed.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Anita Hollis. I'm at 1284 Stone Castle Circle. So I can't really add anything else to what Rashid has stated, but we are dog owners. We have 4 dogs right now currently in the neighborhood, not sure of what others that will be coming in. So we're not opposed to dogs being in the neighborhood, but we are opposed of the hospital being directly behind us, because for us, our deck looks over the hospital, so we will hear the barking. Our dogs will hear the barking, so they will bark in line with the dogs that are back there howling. And my dog likes to whine, so she will start whining when she hears the dogs barking or whatever else that may take place. There are 5 hospitals and clinics within a 2-mile radius of where we live right now. So I do want to make sure that I add that. We are 26 townhomes that are currently being sold. There are 7 of which that have already been sold and 4 that are under contract. And again, as Rashid already mentioned, they're not here today because they weren't served the letter that was sent from Blue Frog. And that's all that I have to add. So we are opposed to the hospital being directly behind our townhome, such that we can enjoy being outside and having events and things of that nature.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Ronald Linear. I also live at the same location, 1300 Stone Castle Circle. I just relocated from New York City. I did 22 and a half years in law enforcement. I planned my move because I knew when I served what I had to do in New York, I came here to relax. 4.5 years in the military. I served ground zero after 3,000 people got murdered
You
at 9/11.
hold the mic up and speak into it.
At 9/11. I decided to come here to relax and enjoy my better days. I didn't come to see a dog kennel being built facing where I stay at. I'm literally right across from the back of the kennel they want to establish in the back to build. And I have a dog also, and I refuse to have that being built in the community. I've made a plan to reside to Atlanta, Georgia, to come to experience this type of manner being built in front of my facility that I purchased almost a $500,000 townhome. And I do not want this place to be built also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Diana Strocker. I'm at 1220 Stone Castle Circle. We just recently moved there, and had it not been for my neighbors, I never would have even known that this was happening. So I did not get any kind of packet notification about this. There are, I believe, as Anita said, there's probably at least 5 clinics and maybe 2 hospitals in less than a 2-mile radius of our places. So I also have a dog. We all love dogs, but I don't feel that this is a really beneficial place for our brand new neighborhood. Unfortunately, 2 of my neighbors back up right next to that. So honestly, I don't know how they're even going to enjoy their outside space at all. I do send my dog to have playtime and, go to the pet hospital. And there's never just one dog outside. And there are several dogs out at one time. And it is true when they say that there is a dog chain. It happens. 1 dog starts barking, 2 dogs start barking. Next thing you know, all the dogs in the neighborhood are barking. And I don't need my dog barking at ridiculous hours either. She's just a little tiny 6-pound dog. We came here. We love our new place. We love our neighbors. Everybody is lovely. And quite honestly, there's still more homes to be sold. I can't see that this is going to be a beneficial thing where people are going to go, oh yeah, I want to live there with a dog hospital right in my backyard with dogs barking. So I think it's going to bring down our value of our homes and probably inhibit future sales, And just to piggyback on what Rashid said, there is that yellow sign about yay big, stands about this tall, right on the corner, and it says, clear as day, kennel. So just wanted to say that we are definitely against it and hope that you all understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to add one more thing, is that when we received the letter, towards the end of the paragraph, that it indicates the area between the existing building and the residential property is not intended to permit animals to be kenneled or to be exercised. That is direct contradiction to what the zoning sign says. So there will be, the variance is for an outside kennel. So we were not informed of all the information.
My last point, we have a picture of that sign if necessary for the board. But I do want to also present, this is a challenge not just for the applicant and the home, it is a challenge for the applicant and the homeowners. And I think a lot of this comes from the property owner of QT or Quick Trip. If they were to make an investment in this community, they've put a lot of regulations against competition, right? So that seems like another gas station can't be there. They wouldn't allow Starbucks to be there because they serve coffee and food, like Starbucks coffee really competes with QT. So this is an eyesore for the community, I know, because it's a boarded up building, but there has to be some type of concessions. In this case, I believe the concessions are egregious from this particular applicant with the business they own because it impacts us behind. But I would also like to commission the board or whomever is necessary to reach out to QT and have them lighten some of these concessions. Good standing businesses that could support the community could be at the corner of South Cobb and King Springs. But, it has to fit into these ordinances. An animal hospital also has certain type of waste policies and things like that, and contamination. And you're talking about 25 feet, 70 feet from what the engineer says to a residential property. But here from the flag, would any of you guys really want barking dogs and contaminated waste that close to your properties that you've made an investment in. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the staff?
I have one question for Joey. Some of the attendees raised the concern about an expansion later of adding services. Wouldn't the business owner have to come back to the city to request any changes in the business? Some of the things that they were concerned about, like the overnight boarding and things like that.
I'd have to look at the ordinance. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Rusty, do you know?
The veterinary clinic would be allowed overnight boarding for animals that had received medical procedures.
Yeah, I think the concern was about like daycare and be different types of services that they're stating right now.
Right now, the request is for the veterinary clinic and the veterinary hospital. They did not request the variance for boarding and kennel.
So would there be more procedures later down the road if they made changes to the business?
When they come in and apply for a business license application, they're going to state the proposed business use. That's going to be a veterinary clinic or a veterinary hospital, however you want to define that. Mm-hmm. They're providing medical services to the patient, to the dogs and the animals that come into that facility. They'll have an accessory use to be able to board those animals for those medical practices. Sure. If you guys want to add a stipulation that says boarding shall only be limited to animals under the care of the veterinary clinic, then that would be something that may be appropriate in this.
Okay.
So it doesn't become a boarding or kennel.
Right. Thank you.
Hey, Rusty or Joey, can you address the signage issue that has been raised?
We are required by state law to post a sign on the property. We post a sign on the property. In addition to posting that sign so we can give residents an idea of what's going on, we make a statement on there that says, hey, this is for a setback reduction for a veterinary use. Mm-hmm. I have to go back and see what the sign says, but that, okay.
That was my mistake.
That, I understand, sir. Okay.
I admit it was my mistake.
Please back up.
Okay.
Let's have some order to this. We've all let everybody speak, okay?
Okay.
I understand.
Okay, yeah, just if you can let our staff finish making their statements, please.
We post a sign, we post a comment as to what the request is. It's not an official comment to say this is what it is. We have 3 weeks from the point we receive the application to when we're here today, and we have to have that sign out there a minimum 15 days. So we post the application while we're going through a completeness check on the application. We just identify the initial request. That way everybody's notified as quickly as possible.
Okay.
What is posted on the official agenda is the request.
Okay.
When we went through the application, we said, initially we thought you may need this request for the dumpster. The dumpster, on one site plan, they had a new dumpster. On another one, they didn't. There's an existing dumpster that they're planning on using. So we said, that's an existing condition. You don't need a variance if you're not creating a new dumpster. Mm-hmm. So we said, we'll return your money for this request. You only need one variance application for this. At that point, they've submitted everything. They've submitted the notification. The neighborhood behind us is a private neighborhood. The people that own a unit within that neighborhood own the fee simple property beneath their unit. Mm-hmm. Everything else is owned by the developer. Our ordinance says we have to notify the contiguous property owner. Mm-hmm. So the developer is the property owner between the subject property and the individual units. So the notification and the posting of the property has all been handled correctly.
Okay.
And according to state law.
Okay. All right.
To piggyback on that last statement, we've talked to the developer and the builder. They haven't received anything about official. They looked at our documents. They were aware that someone was purchasing the area, but they said they had no, awareness of any documentation that was sent. I would like to also say, I'm a business owner too, and some of these things that go onto additions, product line expansion, you don't need to go back to add that, right? It would be something that you look at your books and say, we want to be able to have that offering, and they would start to try to, go ahead and make adjustments to have that particular offering. And to house animals is something they would decide if it's a cost play. Again, I just think that the approach to this is not being very well thought out. They might have their ducks in a row to some type of standards. There are questions that the board can't answer. I apologize. I was just trying to provide evidence of what's allowed, and the sign says to allow a kennel. So we are misinformed. We are misdirected, possibly even lied to. So how can I have any faith that someone is going to say, oh, we won't have those services? Who's going to enforce that? Who's going to enforce, again, if it's 1, 2, or 3 dogs outdoors? Do we have to put a camera over Ron's garage that overlooks that calls the police? Because I can do that, right, with technology every time, and hold up taxpayers, hold up our emergency staff for that type of stuff. This is the level that we're willing to go to for the annoyance that we know and has been documented with other cases that we've submitted to the board that go along with a dog kennel veterinary hospital so close, a stone throw from me to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Now, this is a public hearing, and we do allow 5 minutes per person, and so I'm going to let you speak one more time, and then we may have some other questions for our applicant, but I can't keep having people come up and down. Thank you.
And I haven't had 5 minutes, but I just wanted to also state that we are passionate about where we live, and we've paid almost $500,000 for the home, and to have that type of annoyance in the back of our yard, that's why we are so passionate about. And so we apologize for being that passionate, but I think that anybody would be passionate about where they live and enjoying their property, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the last thing I'm going to say on this. No one has lied to anybody up here about anything. They have acknowledged that they received letters, and in the letter and in the application process, that the applicant is requesting a reduction of the requirement from 200 feet to 25 feet. The applicant has sat up here and stated to you verbally that the outside area is going to be for walking the dogs and to allow them to relieve themselves and so forth. And that was stated in the letter that was sent to them. And they've even acknowledged that. So no one has lied to anybody about anything. We posted a sign. The sign has the word kennel on it. That's our mistake, and we'll assume that. But there's been no misleading about anything up here. You can ask the applicant clarifying questions about their use and how they're going to use the property, but from the standpoint of how the thing is how the variance is processed, and we go through this process, there's been no misleading about the fact. Okay. There are facts. They've identified it. They testified to the letters and everything else, and they've got it. Their issue is with a word on a sign, and I've addressed that for you guys. I'll be happy to address anything else you need from us.
Okay. Is the owner, Dr. Carey, here? Can you step to the podium, please? Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Jamie Carey. This is my wife, Dr. Carey. We're co-owners in the practice.
Okay. All right. Can you basically tell us about the type of business that you're planning to have?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, the short version of the story is this gentleman, the sign that was posted was an honest mistake. A medical facility.
Okay.
similar concerns with Starbucks when we testing done with representatives at Starbucks. They were more than pleased, and in the 5 years of our operation, we have not had a single, including Starbucks.
Okay. Did you do any did you add anything to the wall to keep down the noise? Nothing was done to the building?
No,
Okay.
we share a party wall, the firewall that's required by code.
Okay, all right. Okay. And what is your hours of operation?
We're only open during the day. We're not a 24-hour facility. Our current operational hours are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Wednesdays and Saturdays from 8 a.m. until 12.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I had a question. On your site plan, there's a area in the back that's labeled outdoor area. That's open air, right? It's just a fenced area in the back?
Correct. It is current, well, I guess its former use was for a trash compactor for the PT facility. It's currently a brick enclosure with no top.
No top. So there's no restriction in the hours when that could be utilized. I assume that there'll be some overnight staff to be watching patients. I mean, no.
Any of our patients that require overnight care, they are transferred to.
There's no animals overnight at all?
Like a hospitalized patient that is not receiving intensive critical care, they are allowed to sleep there with cameras.
So there's the potential, I'll just kind of throw this out there as a for example. I mean, for example, there could be animals being walked in that outdoor area at 11:30 at night if they need to relieve themselves or what have.
No, sir. In our 5 years of operation, that has not happened at our current hospital. That is not. We leave at 6 o'clock.
So the animals that you leave overnight at 6 p.m.
It's like a cat with a litter box sort of scenario. They have.
There's no dogs left overnight ever?
There are, yes.
Yeah, so so you're saying that the dog would be there from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. the following morning?
We generally, we probably, our typical daily operation, we don't normally leave until 7, and then we probably get there. Exactly, yeah. Any animal that's not able to make that time period, they're sent home and they come back in the morning, or they go to the 24-hour care.
Okay.
Is this your first time hearing concerns from the neighbors?
Yes, ma'am. We honestly, we thought this was going to be a quick, easy thing. Property. I've spoken with him when I was out on the property. He told me you didn't know what you were going to go.
Sir, please don't interrupt him. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Shall I let him finish?
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, he informed me that there were potential other uses for the property as a used car lot and a car wash scenario. Traffic concern than
Any other questions for the applicant? No? Okay. All right. Well, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, hang on. Let's see here. I'd like to make a motion to approve V19-026 variance request, allow a reduction of veterinary clinic distance from 200 feet to 25 feet from residential property, land lot 528.86 acres, 3875 South Cobb Drive, Blue Frog LLC, Sean Rainey applicant, with the stipulation that any animals kenneled in the location overnight are for veterinary use only, receiving medical attention. And
there are two more stipulations as well.
and other stipulations as listed by community development.
A second.
And before we vote for the, I guess, Mr. Rainey, since you're representing the applicant, can you step to the podium, please? Do you accept the three conditions as stated? Do we need to repeat those for you? Okay. It's been motioned and properly second that we approve variance request V19026. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Variance request V19027. Privacy fence in front yard on corner lot, land lot 449, 0.23 acres, 2821 Fraser Street. Brian Dennis is the applicant. Can you step to the podium, please? Good morning. All right. Can you tell us about your variance request, but also state your name for the record?
Yes, ma'am. Brian Dennis, and I'm the property owner, but I don't live there. The house is on the market, and it's a corner lot, and it's on Bank Street, so it's on Fraser Street and Bank Street. The house sits elevated up off the road, and we're trying to do it as a concession for sale, but it's, I think, regardless whether it's for this person or the next, I think it would be applicable. So it's a fence that carries from the back corner of the house to property that's back of the property that already has an existing fence back there. So just kind of connecting outside the what's.
Okay. Any questions at this time for the applicant? All right, we'll have Joey Staub speak. You can sit on the front row, please, from Community Development.
There it is. Applicant's requesting a 8-foot fence along Bank Street due to the topography of the backyard, where it's, I don't know exactly, average of 6 to 8 feet higher than the road. So they're asking for that additional height for privacy and security purposes. We've analyzed the request and we've recommended approval based on the safety and privacy concerns, and that's it.
I have a question. The fence is going to block off access to the garage. There'll be a gate there?
There will be a gate where there's a driveway already there.
There's 2 driveways on the property. So that one is kind of a secondary drive, and just when we built it, we didn't know what the future homeowner was going to want to do. So both of them are there, and she doesn't want to use it. This particular homeowner doesn't want to use it anymore. But the gate would be there to access, because you'd have to have something on that side of the property. I guess my point, it doesn't access.
Can you speak into the mic?
I'm sorry. It doesn't actually access the garage. So the garage gets to from the Fraser Street driveway, and this is an access on Bank Street. The guy previously had a kind of a barn shed type of thing back there, and so at some point, I guess it was used as a garage.
Okay. The reason I asked the question, there's not a potential for a car to be parked on Bank Street waiting for a gate to open or close in order to access that part of the property?
No, sir.
Okay.
I would add that there was originally a fence in the same location that was taken down when they remodeled the house to add a second story. So.
Any opposition?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, please step to the podium at this time. Seeing no one, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve V19-027, variance request, allow 8-foot wooden privacy fence in front yard on corner lot, land lot 449.23 acres, 2821 Fraser Street, Brian Dennis applicant.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve variance request V19027. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Next item is approval of the June 12th, 2019 License and Variance Board meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 2019-233, approval of the June 12, 2019 License and Variance Board minutes.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve the June 12th, 2019 License and Variance Board meeting minutes. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. I'd like to declare this meeting adjourned at 11:19 a.m.